Fellow heroes and force users of all ages, hello there, and welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Daniel Dawson, and I'm joined by my friend and fellow Harfoot, Alyssa Simmons.
Hello!
Today, we are discussing the first half of Season 2 of the Amazon Prime series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Episodes 1 through 4. We are going to tell you our thoughts about how this season compares to last season and try to figure out where the show is headed, because, by God, we're Tolkien fans!
I don't know who you are or where you came from.
I am Iron.
I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Smells like a new car in here.
Inside the Tauntaun, this is our opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, Dino, talking nerd stuff, come along. Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
Hey!
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
Just boiling! It's so hot!
Yep.
I am very blessed to have, you know, one of those portable air conditioning units, but it's never enough. Never.
Well, I mean,
those-
I'm even in central air conditioning, but I'm on the second floor of this
Heat
house.
rises.
And
because science.
Because of science.
Damn you, science!
And so it's boiling. It's boiling here.
Harumph. Harumph.
Yes, if you haven't been paying attention to the news, or if you're not from California, Southern
The
California,
world is on
to
fire.
be precise, we're having a terrible heat wave right now. It's been over 100 degrees for the last 4 days.
Yeah. And some places it's like 110, which is...
Yeah. It got up to like 105 where I live, which is really not ever that hot here.
We're living in Mordor.
Yeah, it feels like it, to be honest.
It really does. Why?
Why?
Why do we have to endure?
Well,
Yeah.
at least we've got plenty of good television to watch.
Thank goodness for that. And it was so
Yeah.
fun. I got to watch this with you the entire first half. So first of all, I
Yes.
guess, speaking generally about the show, I think of if I can speak for both of us, it was
You can.
I will. It's a fairly good indicator that we were, because, they released the first 3 episodes all at once, which I think I understand why, but
It's
also
a little curious, though. It's a little
it
curious.
is curious.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, but we'll get into that later. But the fact that they were all out there and we're like, we'll see what we can get through. And we truthfully almost made it. The only reason why we didn't go through the entire third one is because Maggie requested to go potty outside.
Maggie had to go.
My dog said, I'm done with this. It's enough Tolkien for tonight. Take me for
Yeah, but
a
we
poop."
watched 2.5 hours without even thinking anything of it, really. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's a great
good sign.
It's a great sign.
It's a
Yeah.
good sign. Would that have been the same case for season 1? I mean, for me, maybe, because I'm just
I think
a crazy
season
person.
1, it was just so exciting to be back watching a Lord of the Rings anything.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what it was for me for last season.
Yeah. And I also think, too, that, now that we have a season under our belts, and the criticisms have already sort of run their course, and I think there's more of less of an expectation. Now we know what to expect. And the bar has been set, I guess.
Yeah.
Which, for better or for worse. But I honestly think maybe for better, because
I do too.
yeah, because now that we know what to expect, it's some things whether it be, I don't know if necessarily changes to the lore, but additions to the lore, we'll just say, or, embellishments on the lore isn't quite as jarring. And honestly, some of the things are quite lovely, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think I guess I'll just go right into generals, because that's kind of what we're doing. I think that storytelling wise, I'm enjoying this season better than last so far.
Better than last.
Yeah, I just think it's a little bit clearer. It feels less, which is just natural with the season 1 to a season 2, but it feels less like, oh gosh, this is just an entire episode of exposition, which I get it. Like there does have to be an element of that, and there is that in this season for sure, but it just feels less burdensome, I think.
It's
such a burden to watch things that I love.
It is nice because I feel like we were introduced to so many new characters in this this season feels like we've met some new people for sure, but
but the way that they're kind of divvying out the storytelling is nice too, because it's not like we're flashing between all of the stories within an episode. It kind of felt like, at least the first 3, it felt pretty self-contained between the different storylines.
Yes.
Which I think was a nice reintroduction back to those characters and like what was going on and like how much did happen in first season with all of those people.
Oh my God.
Creatures and such.
So, and maybe that is and I going back to what we were talking about before about like, why in the hell did they do 3 episodes, all out of the gate? And I think you may have hit it on the head there. Because we do have so many different characters, and what felt like 4 separate stories happening, at least that I can think of off the top of my head, because you have the Numenorians, you have the elves, you have the dwarves, and then you have like the Sauron story, like,
and then the Harfoots and
the
Gandalf.
Harfoots. Oh my God, the 5!
So there's 5 stories. There's 5. Yeah,
so many stories. And I mean, like, in Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, Tolkien does this, so it's not like unprecedented by any means. But I mean, in that story, there was really there was 3 stories kind of happening at the same time. You have like Frodo and Sam, and then you have Pippin and Merry, and then you have Gandalf and the rest of the band, Aragorn and
Legolas and such.
Gimli. So I think in this sense that they kind of needed to fill us in on all of those people. Really took 3 episodes, because like if you tried to squish all of that into one, it would just been so chaotic and confusing. And so I understand why they did what they did, I think. And it felt it didn't feel like too spread out. It felt like just the right amount of pacing, I think.
Enough action versus I
definitely enjoyed and I don't know if this felt like a note taken or if this had been a plan all along. But now that we have the reveal of who Sauron really is, that Halbrand, you bastard, that we got the prologue.
Backstory. Yes. We were very happy about that in the moment. We were like, oh, good. All right, we're gonna find out how we got to where we are now, because that's needed.
Yeah, it was good, very good, and fun too, actually, because I think it's sort of like roughly described in the book, but like not quite like that. So that was definitely a fun take on, like, it's sort of, I don't know if you've ever seen. I when we watched it together, I mentioned it. It's like a really wonderful B-rated sci-fi movie called The Blob.
Yes, I have not seen The Blob, but I do know what The Blob is.
The creators of this show definitely are fans, I think.
They're like, we're doing our own version of The Blob, okay?
It is, right. And it was disgusting and wonderful. This like creature comes from outer space, I guess. And then it's a blob, and it literally just rolls around and absorbs people. That's the whole movie. But yeah, this is like spooky and icky and gross. I did not notice, actually, in my research afterwards, the this show has done a really good job so far at just their attention to detail, whether it be just in like the costumes, sets, and la 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 la.
Mhm.
But specifically in the passage of time in that prologue too, because like after he dies, and then is like this blob is sort of forming and everything. There's, I didn't see this the first time, or at least I didn't notice it, but like the stalagmites,
Mhm.
stalagmites and stalactites, I guess, but the stalagmites specifically have grown considerably, which takes, if you know,
It takes
like
time.
if you know geology, it takes a long
And we
fucking
do.
time. And we do. Actually, I don't know
about
if you know this about me, but I'm like really, I geology. I love caves. I really love caves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, caves, mines, anything that's like underground, like
Uh-huh.
tombs.
Have you ever been to New Mexico?
Yes,
They have a lot of caves and stuff
they
there.
do. I've never been to like the biggest one, the Carlsbad.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I went there. Carlsbad Caverns.
Yeah. If I did, my parents took me when I was really young, and I forgot. I think that they took my brother, but not me. Which
Yeah, I've got a lot of photos of myself in the crazy like orange tarp thing and like hat that they make you wear down there.
yeah, you got to do it. It's cute.
Yeah.
It's
It was really
adorable.
interesting though.
Yeah, I love it, and I still love it to
To
this
this day.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, right. So,
The Lord of the Rings.
The Lord of the Rings, right?
The
right,
Blob.
The blob.
The Blob of the Rings.
The blob of the rings. But yeah, having some just like that, how did he get there? And it made sense, which is good, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I buy that. And I was like, oh, what a dick. He was that old man was so nice to him, and then he just stole his little purse away.
Mm-hmm.
Like a jerk.
He's a bad guy.
But yeah, so now he's got a lace front wig, and
he does. He's blonde.
He's the blonde. His previous hair, Halbrand hair, that was like his natural hair, right?
I think that's his hair.
That wasn't also a really good lace front, because I mean, whatever it is, that I feel like that wig was better than this one. It's a lovely wig, but it's just like it doesn't feel as quite as natural. But it's so crazy how different he looks.
He looks so different,
like a completely different person. Like if somebody like had, I mean, I think that you would figure it out pretty quickly. But I mean, if somebody initially said that's a different actor, you'd be like, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's just something about the color of that wig and the fact that it's like straight, and it just like changes his features so much. It's really trippy.
Good job, wig people.
You did it.
You really did it. But yeah, so I don't know if we're talking generally still. Out of the, I think that last season we kind of all sort of agreed that the dwarf story was kind of like some of our favorite stuff.
Yeah, we loved the dwarfs.
They were great. And they continue, at least for me, to be like some of the more believable relationships, I think.
Yeah, it's really, I agree. It feels like less like we're watching fantasy creatures, like, and it just feels very, the stories that they're telling are very relatable.
Yeah. So, you have like a, husband and wife and a father and son story and a, kind of tale as old as times. Tale as old as times. Tales
as old as times.
Yeah, no, I still appreciate they still kind of feel like the heart of the show. That being said too, I and it's funny, like the Harfoot like sections of the show, like they did this last season too, where it's like, oh, here comes the goofy fun part of the show, and like I want to cross my arms and not like it, but it's still very charming and super sweet. It's cute.
It's cute. We haven't spent too much time with them.
Yeah,
like I feel like Poppy and what's her name?
Puppy Harlow.
What are the two girls called?
Poppy Harlow. That's a CNN contributor, I think. Poppy.
Nori, Poppy and Nori.
There it is. Poppy
Um,
and Nori.
yeah, I feel like we haven't really had a ton of time with them.
Yeah, and
It's
truthfully,
been more focused on the stranger. So
right. I'm kind of thrilled about that storyline because if you've read the books, or the appendices or all the above, it is like the least spoken about stuff. I don't know about the least, but there's bare minimum stuff talked about, like Rune, the Men of the East. We're getting more wizards finally, like the Tolkien,
the Dark Wizard.
The Dark Wizard. They're we've Tolkien has like spoken about the Istari, and that there were 5 of them. Wait, let me make sure. I'm gonna go into my trusty Tolkien book here. The Istar. Oops. I for Istar. There it is. 5 beings sent to Middle Earth by the Valar about TA 1000 to unite and counsel the free peoples in their struggles against Sauron. They were forbidden to dominate the peoples of Middle Earth or to match Sauron's power with power. When Sauron the Great is blah 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 blah. But they only talk about we only know of Gandalf.
Yes.
Saruman. Radagast. Who's the other one? Am I crazy? Or is it just those 3? Sorry, I'm having a nerd alert right here. But that's the thing. There's 2, which I think that they called the Blue Wizards at some point. We know like little to none about them. So the fact that they're going to give us like even a little hint of that is just so tasty. And also the idea that, because like I think in my head, I always just assumed because of that description that, because they were forbidden to be naughty. But obviously that isn't the case because Saruman turned evil. It's also it's very plausible for these people, creatures. I don't know what these
beings.
Beings. There you go. These beings can become evil and can get corrupted. So it's fun because I always just assumed that the Blue Wizards were just another like good thing, but they're not, which is so fun. But then that leaves at least one wizard, at least unless I'm insane and I'm not remembering one, that's unaccounted for. So more seasons to come. We'll see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I love the idea that there is an evil wizard in Rune. Because why not?
Yeah.
And I love that we get to meet Radagast.
Yeah, that's fun.
It is fun. I feel like he does feel very authentic to the books because we do meet him in the books, but he was left out of the films.
Yes,
which is sad.
Poor
because
guy.
he's great and fun. Sorry, I bopped around a lot.
It's all right.
I guess the net is that I think I'm almost the most excited for that portion of the story just because it's so fresh and so new. Yeah, I really could go anywhere, and I kind of like it. And it, at least it's sort of piecing together some of the weird shit that happened the first season with those like bald, spooky white people.
Because we really didn't know. We had a lot of speculation.
We were all like, oh, there's Sauron. That must be Sauron.
Yeah, that was, and we were like, oh, okay, well, red herring. Guess that's not Sauron. But who is that?
Right. Who
is that?
And then they just didn't answer the question until maybe now. There is a level of like, I'm sure there's people out there that'll be like, well, they already did this story. You know what I mean? Like the evil wizard joining in with Sauron to, conquer Middle Earth, but like,
There's a
it's
lot of other
poetry.
stuff going on though
Yeah.
around that, you know?
Yes. It's poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's room for, because like, it is the nature of like the world. It's just history tends to sort of go in cycles and repeat itself.
It
So it
does.
would be interesting to explore that. Yeah, kind of, and it just to bring some context to the peoples of the East and like how they fit in to Middle Earth, instead of them just kind of like showing up all of a sudden in Lord of the Rings. And you're like, who are these guys with these giant elephants?
The giant
like,
elephants.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, elephants.
Elephants.
So yeah. What storyline is kind of like driving your ship at this point?
I think
You better be honest with me.
I will.
Don't you damn
Don't you
lie
lie to
at
me.
you lying lesbian.
Oh, good.
Good.
Good. Yeah.
That's what Donald Trump would call you, the lying lesbian.
He would. I would have said, "Thank you so much."
Grizz.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like one specific storyline that I'm like more jazzed about at the moment.
So you hate it. Got it.
I hate this show.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love it. It's great. Yeah, the wizard stuff is super fun.
The wizard!
It's fun.
And Nori!
Honestly, it's really beautiful to watch. Like I just find myself like looking at the whole production design of everything. The lighting is so like, I know some people think like when you talk about this kind of stuff that you don't really like the actual material. You're just like trying to be like, like I said, I went and saw a show recently and I said something to someone in the cast.
The lighting was
Like,
just
and I was like,
so...
oh, like it looked beautiful. Like it was so visually stunning. And she was
you
like,
were
oh, so you
on the stage.
and she was like, oh, so you really hated it.
I
I was like, no, I really didn't. I just was like, I should have started
impressed with the lighting.
I guess as an actor, I should have started with complimenting all of you first. I'm very sorry.
I mean, but truthfully though, like if the lighting is the first thing that you notice,
no, and it was everyone needs to chill. But yeah, no, it's just so beautiful to watch. All of the costumes and prosthetics and I mean even these new hobbits that we met in this last episode.
Mm-hmm.
The store. Mm-hmm. The store. Like I just love that. Like when we met the Harfoots, we were like, oh, okay, these are hobbits, obviously, but like,
yeah,
what kind of hobbits are they? They're not the hobbits that we know.
Right.
And so meeting the Harfoots and now meeting the store, and it's just
that is super duper fun.
Yeah, it just makes I'm taken back to reading the books for the first time, where I was like imagining what all of these things and creatures and beings looked like.
Yeah.
And it feels exciting to me like that when I'm watching this series.
Yeah, and it does add so much it adds so much to the history of Middle Earth, because you think about Rune just being like this desert land, but not I don't know, because I mean I've had the Middle Earth like universe on my brain for like since I was pretty young, but I think in all that time I don't think I've ever really stopped to think about like what was Rune like before it was Rune, you know what I mean? Like, and they talk about like how it was like a lush,
lush, beautiful greenery, and
and then it sort of eventually became this sort of dust bowl, and so like why wouldn't there be hobbits that lived in that land long ago, and like
Yeah.
I
And I thought
love
that was super, that whole scene where Nori like discovers why the Harfoots wander.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, whoa. Like
And
I don't know why that was so like,
no, it was great. It was a
that
cool
was such
revelation.
a great like thing to just be like, okay, well, yeah, their whole reason that they started is because that what was the traveler called, or the store that left them to go in search of the Suzette?
Yeah, the Suzette, right?
Right.
I'm amazed that you remembered that word.
And then like Nori makes the realization. She was like, he never found the Suzette, and
it's so sad.
And we all just kept wandering.
The Suzette,
like,
I'm sure. I'm kind of waiting for. I'm hoping it's not as like, you know, like womp womp. And I'm gonna probably say it now because obviously I'm not a writer. But like, I just kind of sense that somewhere down the line that it's you know, the Suzette was inside you.
No, not that.
We had to look within to find. You know, like the Suzette is all the friends that you made along the way.
Not the friends along the way.
I have a sneaking suspicion that
really
might be it,
you think?
yeah,
I mean, that would be a very...
Suzette is family, you know, and but we'll see. I
don't know.
I'm sure they'll do it in a much more poignant and beautiful way. But also that's sad, and the fact that it's so ancient history that like it's been lost to time. You know what I mean? You know, the only reason why they know it is because there's a painting on the wall. But then, you know,
yeah, there's
Nori
literal
had
like cave
no
drawings.
Idea.
Like
they just have these funny songs that have been passed down through the years. They don't know the meaning to. Kind of like, you know, like even for us, I'm sure at some point someday, like, well, I don't know, as long as we still have like Google and things like that, we'll always be able to Google things. But like songs like Ring Around the Rosies, you know what I mean? Like people sing that and be like, what a funny song. But like it's actually like really spooky.
It's
like
pretty scary.
Super spooky. Scary.
Yeah. What was it about? Which plague was it about?
It was the plague, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
The original?
Yeah, yeah.
The OG?
Uh-huh. The OG, yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Pocket pull of posies basically is like the what do you call it? The I can't remember what they're called, but the nurses, you know, they wore those like masks with the long beaks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they would have pockets full of posies like that smell nice, and then they would put them in the nose so that it would like take the stench of death away. It was ashes, like burning all the bodies. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's spooky, gross. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, so that flavor is cool. Makes it just gives a nice rich color.
The one thing that I'm like
history.
a little bit, and I guess I should have kind of been prepared for it from last season.
Yeah,
is Isildur's sister.
Oh,
her kind of like pivot of a storyline.
Also, I kept on like I half jokingly kept saying every time a girl did something that like was leading towards evil, I was like, "Oh, there's the girl, screwing it up for everyone again." But it kept happening, and I was like, "What the heck?"
Yeah,
I so funny, but specifically her.
Yeah, specifically her, and like in the Queen's like swearing in ceremony, I was just like, "This is
like,
is kind
what
of
are you
lot.
doing? Get out of here, Isildur's sister."
Yeah, what even is her name?
It doesn't matter. She's a jerk, and I don't like her.
She's a jerk.
And we all know she's gonna die because she doesn't exist in the books.
Yeah, probably.
She's gonna get washed away by a wave.
How did you feel
sadness.
about that whole storyline? I suppose the fair zone,
Numenor.
the fair zone.
We have to roll
rising
all
into
of
his
our R's
hawk.
today.
Yeah, they love to roll their R's on that show.
Numenor.
Well, I'm like, okay, that you've added them now.
The R doesn't even exist there.
Excuse me?
Oh God. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think surprisingly enough, because I think I was like maybe initially, I think before the show started, the most excited about the Numenorian side of the story. But I think for me right now, and it's not in like not necessarily in a negative way. It just doesn't. I think right now it's sitting at the lowest part of the totem for me.
I feel that.
Like I'm enjoying it. But it interests me the least. I thought that I kind of almost laughed because I thought it was like I understand why they did it because it was very funny. I just wish that we could have had the moment where she's having her coronation or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're all like,
Queen of greatness,
a
heart of gold shards.
That's a Frozen Live at the Hyperion.
It's in the movie too.
Reference. It is.
So people know the movie.
During that ceremony, you know, they're all like, boo, we hate this new queen. She sucks.
Murderer! Murderer queen!
And then Farazan, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He like all of a sudden the one of the great eagles like lands like for what reason we don't really know. But
unclear.
I wish that we had like the inside thought of the eagle because it just to me felt like he had no idea what was going on and was just like just like I'm just taking a breath. I was flying from Valinor.
I didn't mean to
just
land
taking a break.
here.
Yeah, I had no idea. And Farazan is just like walks towards him. I did it. And they're like, yes, the eagle famous Farazan, all hail. And it's just like, what a joke. Like I don't and that's what I'm trying to figure out is it kind of felt like because it looked like they were like panning to the eagle's face and it looked like the eagle was confused, which is it's so like the eagle's like what the fuck and then just like flies away.
No, I read it like that too. I think it was very much so like a, you know, they were all looking for a way to not support the queen. Right?
Yeah.
It was like a very, very honestly relatable political moment.
Yeah.
Where it's like people are just like looking so hard for some type of sign to like be the deciding factor. And then it's like the eagle lands there and they're all just like, there it is. And then they just start chanting his names and they're like, it doesn't matter what the sign is, it's just a sign.
It's so funny because like literally anybody could have walked forward. Like the dog could have been like, oh hail the dog. Yeah, Farazan. This is it. This is my moment.
I did it. I stood there.
I stood there. So brave. So brave. Yeah, I'm sure there's more. Maybe there's some more symbolism that I'm not reading into, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, it's like it was very much like a she's a witch, burn her scene because of her like talking to the Palantir and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, it's not wrong because the Palantir does have some spooky qualities later on. Because at this point, we're not really, I don't think we were made aware in season 1 if Sauron had control of one of the Palantirs yet.
No, that was not.
Wasn't said or even alluded to, I don't think.
No.
Because at some point, he does. Spoiler alert.
Obviously. If you've seen the movies or read the books.
If you've seen the movies, he gets a hold of it and they're dangerous. So yeah, and more than likely is going to be a plot point, like, you know, and it's going to be like this big Like, what a hypocrite. You know, he was blaming her for using the Palantir, and now he's doing it, but it's
Sure.
fine when he does it because he's a man. But then he is going to get, you know, Sauron's going to roll his shoulder at him.
Dee, 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 dee.
You like this?
Dee,
What
dee,
about
dee, dee, dee.
what about these? And then Farazan's gonna kowtow and then get washed up.
Yep.
But actually, I am curious. I don't know. I know we're bopping and booping around, but like,
Nope, we're going completely in order.
it's so in order. I am curious. How many seasons were we supposed to get at this again? Was it 5?
4 or 5?
4 or 5? That sounds right. So I my guess is that we're still not going to get the destruction of Numenor this season.
Yeah, I don't think
That would be
so.
too soon.
Second
But
season.
the other thing is that the show is called the Rings of Power too. Like we've got we've got 3 rings for the elves already made.
Yep.
Maybe this is gonna be like a season by season thing where we're gonna get like we've already seen it in the trailers. We're getting the rings for the dwarves. The dwarves are gonna have the rings.
Yeah, that feels like it's coming real soon.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing anything about rings. I mean, they've spoken about the rings for men, but
yes, yeah, I think that was like literally even a line because like what's his head was like, I want you to make rings for men.
So it feels like the structure of the show is like we've got first season rings for elves, second season rings for dwarves, third season rings for men, and then fourth and fifth season are going to be this like, you know, the culmination of like Sauron's plan. Maybe the same ring 4. Season 4 is his creation of the One Ring.
Sure.
You know, and then season 5 is whatever, maybe the destruction of Numenor, and then because I that's the curious part about it is like where do they leave this show off? You know what I mean? Like what are they allowed to do? You know, are they? Because I think that if I remember right, in the appendices they talk about the big fight at the end of the Second Age, fighting Sauron, like, you know, with elves and men. Yeah. So I don't know if we're gonna get that far or not. If we're gonna see Isildur and his dad fighting against Sauron and slicing off the finger and doing all that. That'd be really cool if that is how they end the show.
I'd love it.
Would be neat. Well, that's it. That's how the show's gonna be.
That's it. That's all it is.
I don't know. But yeah,
I'm trying to think.
what
Obviously, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about.
there's
But,
so much.
As far as like,
yes,
I suppose, like,
we haven't talked a lot about the elves yet.
no, we can talk about the elves.
What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, well, we kind of just said where we think it potentially might be going.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think it's come from, though?
Well, oh God.
I was going to ask you a general question before, and we sort of talked about it before. You're a little squirmish when it comes to violence.
Yes.
And there's a pretty bloody violence in this. I don't know if it was more or less than last season, but like
it felt about the same to me.
Roughly the same?
Yeah.
But still palatable for you because it's like they're not like real people.
Yeah, I think it's just like if it's within the like
fantasy.
Within the fantasy realm and it's not as violent as like Game of Thrones.
Sure. Because like, you know, the violent death of Sauron, or at least, you know, one of his deaths.
That I did close my eyes about halfway through that, because
it was even for me. I was like, yikes!
Whoa!
Another sort of lore change. They seemingly they didn't really say it out loud, which I think was on purpose because they didn't want, I think, to, upset the Lord of the Rings gods. But because in the books, if I remember right, Morgoth, the like first evil of the lands, when they defeated him, they took his crown, which used to hold the Silmarils, and they melted it down and then made it into Sauron's like new crown, I guess.
Got it.
But if I remember that right. But this looks like they just like straight up just took Melkor's crown. Melkor, sorry, is another, that's his Morgoth's first name. And just like, we're gonna crown him, but then like the reversal of it and then stabbing him with the crown. I thought that was like, pretty dope.
Whoa.
But very violent. I was like, oh my God. And then just all the orcs just like kicking and stabbing him like, oh my goodness. That was
quite violent.
Yikes. But yeah,
we've got a new Adar.
Yes, we do. Oh yeah, what are your thoughts about this new guy? Do you like him better? And do we have any idea? Like, because I can't remember if we got any. I
have no idea what happened.
We didn't get
to the last guy. But this is Sam Hazeldine. Really excellent British actors. Done lots of
this Yahoo News. Yahoo.com Entertainment News says Sam Hazeldine Hazeldine replaced Joseph Mall as Adar due to the latter's decision to explore new career opportunities.
Oh, that's very ambiguous, isn't it?
Uh-huh. But really, though, it makes you wonder, like, what?
Yeah.
He's a Scientologist now.
Yeah, you might recognize the new Adar from if you watch Peaky Blinders.
I don't.
Oh, really?
No,
I feel like
don't.
you like that show. No?
Yeah, I think somebody else has said the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I recognized him from The Sandman, the Netflix series, The Sandman, based
Didn't
on
say it.
Also told you to watch that, and you never did. So, guess you hate me.
I'm so busy.
Sure.
Sure, Jan.
Sure, Jan. Yeah, he's great. I honestly, the recasting was like, there's enough like prosthetics going on and stuff that it's like I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is an entirely different person. It just was like, okay, yeah, I get it.
And we barely got to meet Adar in season 1 too, so it's like it was not
it's not like we spent many seasons.
It wasn't nearly as jarring as the change of Dumbledore.
Yeah, that was jarring.
It was severely jarring, but
that was jarring. That was hard to do.
But then we all got to love.
We figured
the
it
new
out.
Character. It was great.
Yeah, it's like The Crown. Every 2 seasons, when the Crown cast changed because they aged them up, which is the way to do that. They should not have kept the original group of people all the way through.
Like do old face makeup or something.
No. I love the way they did it, but it did take a couple of episodes to be like, oh, whoa. Okay, that's Princess Margaret. Okay, that's Princess Margaret. Everybody.
Now in this, it's much more like palatable change. Totally fine.
Yeah,
no big deal.
I like him. He's good and evil. He's good and evil.
Good and evil, but it's interesting, like what a complicated character because we all empathize with his hate for Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
But and also like for his love of these orcs because they're all just tortured elves, that like or at least that's how they were initially created. Although now they just create more orcs via.
Oh, we saw a woman orc and a baby orc.
I was gonna say.
That was new.
A woman and a baby orc, which is like and also speaking of our very first Lady Ent as well.
Which I love
was
that.
Very exciting because of
that was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Yeah,
the whole scene. I mean Yeah, the SFX on that were awesome and
Really great.
Yeah,
for fans of the original, the books and the films, the Entwives, as they're called, have been lost. They're just, by the time we get to the Lord of the Rings, the Entwives are like long gone. It's really sad, and they don't really explain why.
You might have noticed that they had two really fantastic actors as the voices of the trees.
Oh yeah, who are they?
Jim Broadbent was Snaggleroot. You know him from Moulin Rouge. He plays Ziddler, the Ziddler in Moulin Rouge, and he's in Harry Potter.
Spectacular.
Yes, and Olivia Williams played Winterbloom.
Oh my God, they have so much money.
They certainly do.
Jeez, I wonder if those Ents will come back. Maybe they will.
We'll see.
But yeah, wow,
that was great. I'm trying to think of like other like standout moments to me. I mean, the stuff with the elves is really interesting right now because we've got a really Elrond from last season to this season, I feel like is night and day, a different energy about him.
Of Sauron? Or
no,
Elrond, you said?
Elrond.
Elrond.
Sorry, my phone is ringing.
Oh, I didn't hear it, which is amazing.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh my God.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I feel like Elrond, obviously things are so different now with the forging of these rings, and he is just so freaked.
That whole scene of him sort of revealing himself as the Lord of Gifts to Celebrimbor was like so spooky and great. Like him walking out of the fire. Like, but Celebrimbor, you fool, you fucking dummy, just falling for it. Ugh. But
and he that was a scary, scary moment. Was that the end of episode 3 when?
It may have been.
No, it was episode 4 because the dwarves fully decided that they were gonna be there.
Oh, take the rings and do it. Yeah. Totally.
So. Yeah,
absolutely. But the reveal of him being the Lord of Gifts happened, I think, the episode before. I think, but maybe not, or maybe that was episode 4. Oh, that's
Lord
okay. And then Círdan, which is fun. Círdan, the one that lives in Lindon.
The fancy man.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a fancy man, isn't he?
The one that like shaves with the freaking like
with the seashell.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Well, it's not a spoiler alert because it happened in the show. I didn't realize it was gonna no, it didn't. Sorry, it didn't happen yet. He has one of the rings. He has one of the elven rings.
Yes.
That's and that is canon. And what is also canon is that eventually the ring makes its way. His ring makes its way to Gandalf. Yes.
We looked that up while we were watching.
So I wonder
if
we're gonna see that in this show. I have a feeling that we will, and that will be cool.
Sure. We for sure are.
Because assumedly the stranger is Gandalf. We still don't know. They haven't really made that.
Definitely.
But they've made it fairly clear. Right?
Yeah. So how do you feel about seeing Tom Bombadil? How do you feel about that?
I loved it. I thought he was super cute, like super authentic to his like warm self from the books. Speaking in cute little rhymes and stuff. I think that they picked a good actor for it.
He's very charming. He's got the right energy about him, doesn't he?
Yeah,
if you don't know who Tom Bombadil is,
who is Tom?
Who is that? He first appeared in a 1934 poem called "The Adventures of Tom Bombadil," which also included Lord of the Rings characters Goldberry, his wife, Old Man Willow, an evil tree in his forest,
Mhm.
and the Barrow Wight, from whom he
Barrow Wights.
rescues the hobbits.
Yes, and the Barrow Wights was something that also people were upset about that didn't show up in the original movies. So
Yes.
seeing those for the first time come to life was
Mhm.
cool. Very cool.
Yes. Bombadil is also known for his appearance as a supporting character in The Lord of the Rings. In the first volume, Fellowship of the Ring, Frodo Baggins and company meet Bombadil in the Old Forest.
Yes.
He was actually omitted from the radio adaptations of The Lord of the Rings from the late
interesting.
70s, which I don't know why they did that, but you never know.
Just for time.
Just, we don't have time for him.
Don't have time.
And he was not in the Peter Jackson trilogy.
Well, because it's interesting because he chooses to be sort of this passive character,
right?
And I think that might have been part of why they're like, oh, okay, well, he's not a player in the game, so we'll just take him out completely.
But they
basically.
do bring him up. They do bring him up, right? They mention him in one of the movies.
They may have mentioned him in the Hobbit movies.
Really? I thought that they
I don't
mentioned
remember
it.
him
Hold
being
on,
mentioned in the Lord of the Rings.
No,
I could be wrong.
they do. You are.
You what?
You are wrong.
Yeah.
No.
It's very plausible that I am wrong.
No, I swore that he
don't
gets
swear.
mentioned. Don't you swear?
Poop, cock, butt, fart.
What? I swore that I read on this.
Find it, Alyssa. Find it.
Okay, this is the most interesting episode we've ever
It is
recorded.
People need to know about Bombadil. I will say that what's interesting about this character, well, an interesting part. I just got a text. Dino just woke up.
Oh.
Oh no! Oh, that's not funny
okay?
at all. That's so sad. James Earl Jones just passed away.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what Dino just texted. Oh, that's so sad.
Rest in peace, Darth
James.
Vader.
Our little Darth Vader.
The voice of our generation, really.
I mean, truly though.
With Darth Vader and Mufasa, are you kidding?
The voice of CNN. My God.
Wow.
That's so sad. Rest in peace. We love you for all that you've given us. James Bombadil. What were we talking about?
I can't find the part that I was talking about, so must have imagined it.
That's okay. It's all right.
You were saying that you...
I was going to say, before I looked down at my phone, that what was interesting about Tom Bombadil being... Wait, is it Tom? Tom Bombadil?
Yeah.
Right?
Tom.
Yeah. He... for being like an ancient Maiar who's been there like since the beginning of time, basically. And another interesting nugget, which I don't know if it's actually canon or if it's something that they just kind of added for extra flavor, that he is the first Istari. Like, at least he alludes to that he is like...
He didn't, yes.
He's like, I am the first one. Or the eldest, I think he called himself.
The eldest, which is what that episode was called.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly right. So, for being the eldest, it is an interesting thing because, you look at Tom and then you look at like how Gandalf is like at the end of the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And like, he's like, Gandalf is this ancient old man. At least, and then Tom is just this like bumbling, warm, rosy cheeked, like Santa. Yeah, right. But like a young Santa, even with his like head with actual color, like
yeah.
Or his hair, I mean.
His head.
Yeah, his head has color.
What?
It's so weird. But yeah. So and the fact and the way he speaks too is just very like. Not youthful, but definitely more youthful than a person who considers himself to be the eldest.
Yes.
So it's I think an interesting part of his character that I don't know if they'll ever really explain. I don't think they have to.
They
I
don't
think
need
it's
to.
just
He's just jolly.
yeah, it's just an interesting quirk that he like kind of maintains his youth. I think and I don't know if this is really a direct reason for this, but like, for me, I think that a general a general a cause for aging and disease is stress.
Yes.
So the fact that he's like such a pacifist and stays out of like world conflict.
Yeah, he's fully removed.
Yeah, so that's why
Why
he doesn't
not?
age. I mean,
Have you seen that? Have you seen that side by side photo of Abraham Lincoln like prior to the war and after the war and his son died? It's like scary.
Well, I mean, really, like almost
and it was like
any...
a 2 or 3 year span, but he looks like he has aged like a decade.
I mean, you could almost do that with any president. I mean, truly, any person who has been through like an insane amount of stress, like it ages you, like inside and out. So I I don't know if that was their intention, but I think that that's just how I'm gonna sort of like
justify it.
Yeah, because Gandalf, poor guy, man, he went through it. He went through it. And it isn't. I think that I don't know if they're gonna really say why, but like Tom Bombadil kind of alluded to like that was like his destiny. He was like destined to face Sauron.
Yes.
Like that was his whole reason for being sent here. And what I'm curious too is like, is this Gandalf's first visit to Middle Earth, or like, or was he, or is it like, has he been there before and now he is like, this is his second or third go around. Yeah. And each time they come back, he has to kind of sort of repiece
together who he is and
who the hell he
why
is,
he's there and everything.
And Tom Bombadil and him may already know each other, but he's like, being coy about it for whatever reason. Like he's got to find it for himself. I can't just tell him.
It's just one of those. It's just one of those wizard rules. One of
those wizard rules. It definitely makes for a more fun story.
Yeah.
But God, if I was there, I'd be really annoyed. Yeah.
How did you like Galadriel's very Legolas fight choreography?
Oh my gosh. This is really intense. And I will say, because like, you go back and you watch the Lord of the Rings films nowadays and you see like these really crazy moves that Legolas did, and we all were like, yeah, in the movie theaters. I remember screaming, his like Oliphant stunt.
The flip onto the Oliphant.
Yeah. And it is like so CGI'd, like hardcore CGI'd. And no doubt that this was definitely like, I actually am curious, because that's the thing. I think I need to go watch it again, because a lot of it does kind of look practical. I don't know if assumedly some of it had to have been CGI.
Of course, yeah. Well, that just goes to show you how good those editors are.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, that your eye doesn't catch when it's flipping between CG and stunt. So.
And the only time that it was like really apparent, like blatantly obvious, was really not because of the of the look of the CGI. It was just what the CGI was doing, because it's like, oh, like a normal body cannot perform those kinds of like that goes against physics. And actually, really, 9 times out of 10, what makes CGI look real is physics. Like if it's defying the laws of physics, then it just doesn't look real. So I think there was a part where oh gosh, what's his name? One of the
other elves?
Yeah. Oh God. The one that's like with the men and like kind of sort of lovey-dovey with one of them.
I didn't notice that, but you did, you homo.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
That's okay. One of the elves.
Yeah, he did some like crazy like arrow shooting, jumping around. Like,
Yeah, it was
you-
really minimal though. It wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't like how we felt about Miss Marvel, you know.
no, correct. So yeah, I thought that was pretty dope choreo. CGI or no, very cool. Yeah.
What do you think about Elrond's comment to the other men that Galadriel was just trying to protect the ring?
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Do you
Very,
think that's
very interesting
Do you think
thing.
that's real, or do you think that she?
I think there's definitely a portion of that for sure. I think that she's because I think that she truly believes, and the hard part about it is that there is truth to it. The rings are like prolonging the life of the special tree that they have there, and you know, and the power of the elves in Middle Earth. So it is doing its job, but at what cost?
Mhm.
So I think that that's the fight, is that Elrond thinks that, you know, the cost is too great, but she's like, no, like it's worth it. You know, it's going to kind of suck, but like, I'll fix it.
We got to push through.
Yeah. So she's still got some learning to do.
Well, they all do. I mean, there's like none of them have ever experienced anything like that, obviously.
Right. Well, I mean, I think at least the ones that had been there for the whole fight with Melkor, like, definitely.
But specifically the wearers of the rings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that like the sons of Fëanor might remember what it was like with the Silmarils, but but you know, that's ancient times.
Yeah, not many of those people are around.
Yeah, there's you know, they're still doing it. But then that's part of Celebrimbor feels the weight of his predecessor, you know, which is part of the reason why he, you know, pushes forward, because he feels like, I got to do something big. I got to do something like the Silmarils, guys, you know?
Yeah.
I want to be remembered. Oh, you know, something else that I noticed, that I'm just bopping around like crazy, but because we haven't really talked a whole lot about the dwarves, but really quickly, the whole because they don't, in the books, they don't really talk about, at least not that I remember, like how Khazad-dûm starts to fall and like the reasoning behind. I think you can just kind of like allude to certain things, like they dug too deep and like awoke an evil kind of thing that was sort of sleeping since the days of Morgoth. But they kind of allude that Sauron's coming back to power has sort of awakened the volcano in but I mean, I think that that's just sort of a symbol. It's not like, you can kind of like think of it sort of metaphysically or physically.
Sure.
But like the volcano erupting has caused this grand earthquake that has sent, like, it has shook the entire Middle Earth, basically, like a fault line that has reached all the way to Khazad-dûm and has caused an earthquake there to happen.
And has caused a doom.
And has caused a doom. Caused a doom. Caused the doom and caused the doom. I think that's pretty cool. I actually really enjoy that. And that Sauron has like his, you know, his web is spreading. But another interesting cool thing about it is that, and I don't know if this was their intention or not, but you know, the dwarves like sing so that they can hear the mountain. But now, because of what's going on there, they can't they can't hear the mountain anymore. And it just it made me think about in the Silmarillion, but you basically kind of get the Genesis story of Earth, more or less, or just all that is. And in the beginning, the Valar and the Ilúvatar, who is like God, and the Valar are like his angels, more or less. To create the earth, they sort of like, they're making music, and through the music becomes like the creation of all things. It's obviously very like kind of artsy fartsy, but like and then Melkor, who is one of the Valar, he sings sort of this dissonant tone. And that is what sort of creates chaos and evil in the world. So it's like he just like, it's like, I'm gonna sing my own tune and it's gonna be not in line with yours and it's gonna sound bad. So in this, it's kind of almost like Sauron has now taken up that mantle and is singing like a dissonant tone again, which is sort of disrupting their song. They can't hear it because he's singing louder than them.
That little bitch.
That little slut. Yeah, I don't know if that was supposed to be a direct tie to that, but it sort of kind of feels like it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, lots of really cool references to the books and some new things. I'm along for the ride.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
So we're already halfway through this season,
which is insane.
Which is super insane.
Yeah, I don't know what the rush was, but I'm glad for it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got the next episode coming out. They've not released the titles of any of these future episodes yet. They're keeping those pretty under wraps. But in the last moment of episode 4, Eldest, Elrond and the few elves that are still alive on that little journey are headed back to Lindon. And Galadriel is captured by Adar.
Oops.
So yeah, we're getting into some juicy juice.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what their relationship is going to be like, because they both have a common enemy.
Correct.
So
yeah,
interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah. Well, any other thoughts before we say bye-bye?
I think we should just end it.
Okay.
We've been talking for too damn long, but it's just because the show is so great. It's fun. I'm enjoying myself.
No, it's super fun. If you're enjoying it or have other thoughts about it, let us know what you think.
Nerd out with us, and also we're Lord knows we've made several mistakes about Tolkien
if you're
canon, so
pulling your hair out about something that we said, please,
you fools. Yeah,
just yell at us if you wish.
Know. Scream.
But we're all happy nerds here. We're just happy to be getting content.
Happy, very sweaty nerds.
Very sweaty, which is why we need to say bye-bye. But thanks for listening. This is Inside the Tauntaun. I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
And rest in peace, James Earl Jones. May the force be with you.
Always.
See ya.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast. Please like and subscribe.